We've been down since junior high, and we grew up on the east side. Do you remember that?
Alright, hello YouTube universe. I am back, finally, with my 23&Me results. And I'm here, as you can tell, in my boyfriend's room. I figured I would pick the prettiest corner of his room, and so here I am with Miss Farida. But we are here, and I'm going to go ahead and finally give you guys my results and what I actually am, what my lineage, my nationality, my ethnicity actually is. I got the results, at the beginning of March, on the 6th. But to be fair, I didn't check my email until like 2 weeks later, so I didn't see them until what, like the 20 something? Either way, I finally got my results, and with this shelter at home, this quarantine, whatever you want to call it for COVID or Corona, I am home. I've been home for a few days. I am an essential employee, though, it turns out. So I've been like off and on, back to work, trying to stay home, only because I have a cough and don't really feel comfortable going into work under the conditions. And thankfully, my job is super understanding and very supportive. So with that being said, it's just been an uphill battle, like deciding to stay home for my own safety and everyone else, or go to work and make money because my bills aren't going to pay themselves. So here we are. I've been home, going back to work tomorrow. And I don't know, guys. I just hope everyone is washing their hands, doing the essential things we should be doing on a day-to-day basis. If you are able to, if you have the means, please take care of yourself, wash your hands, stay indoors, avoid going out as much as possible. I have been one to not really follow this that well, but that's only because I'm a bad planner and I didn't actually, get anything or have any hobbies before this besides watching TV. So it's been in and out of the house to kind of pick up things, to make things and keep myself busy. Hence why we're here making this video, because I figured I spent enough time being a lazy bum, enjoying the time at home, that I needed to be productive so I don't go stir crazy and lose my mind. So here we are. I do have my results, like I said, so if you want to hear those, please stay tuned. There is going to be a little bit of a history lesson in there as well, only because I'm kind of ignorant. I don't know too much about different ethnic groups, and that's honestly, I want to say mostly because I was so stuck on like, I'm a Blaxican, I'm black and Mexican, I'm nothing else, and that's fine. That's what I am. But the older I'm getting, and with being adopted and not knowing for certain too much about my biological family's background, I figured like, hey, I'm 29, I'm 30 this year. It'd be better to know what I am, what I'm passing on. I'd like to know who I am just for the simple fact that I'm going to be 30. And I've had like different little instances where I'm like, I might have a little bit of this in me, I might have a little bit of that. Needless to say, I was actually surprised to see what I am. And so I am, like I said, I'm going to read off the percentages, but I'm only going to give you like the full definition, description, if you will, on like the top two, because I'm a few different things. I want to say there's like maybe 6 different definitions I'm going to give you, but I'm going to read off all my percentages. So like I said, if you want to hear those, there's a little bit of history class mixed in there as well. And just for the simple fact that I didn't know this terminology for my ethnic group, I'm going to read that off as well. If you have any information to further educate me, please post it, comment, whatever you gotta do in my comment section. I'll gladly take it and will appreciate it. So I'm gonna definitely go ahead and read off my results. My green box is showing. I have them like standing in front of a box, so I'm basically have a teleprompter. So I'm gonna try to keep my eye on you guys as much as possible. I'm trying not to like look down. So if anything, I'm gonna be looking off to the side. Sorry. But here are my results. So it turns out I'm 43% sub-Saharan African, and with that, 39.7% is actually West African. And with that big old chunk, for over a millennium before European colonization and the Atlantic slave trade, West Africans were united under a series of powerful empires, resulting in broad similarities in music, clothing, art, and cuisine. A gradient of genetic similarity extending from Senegal to Nigeria reflects a richly complex population history in a region home to over 350 million people who form hundreds of distinct ethnic groups. See, I can't read my chicken scratch. Sorry, guys. So that was interesting to learn. And then The second highest one was the 17.9%, and that just happens to be Nigerian. And with that, Nigeria's population is the largest in Africa and one of the most diverse, with over 250 ethnic groups. DNA may trace back to Nigerian ancestry due to the disproportionate impact of the Atlantic slave trade on the people of the region. So that was cool to learn. So a big chunk of me is West African and Nigerian. Cool. So the rest of the African side, I'm not going to be able to pronounce a couple of these, so please don't make fun of me too bad. 14.3% of me is Ghanaian, Liberian, and Sierra Leonean. 3.7% Senegambian and Guinean. 2.6% Congolese and Southern East African. 1.9% Angolan and Congolese. Okay, we got through that. It wasn't too painful. And so now, 30% of me is actually Native American. I knew I had the tiniest chunk. Didn't think it was 30%. I thought it was like 7%. So 30% is pretty hefty compared to what I originally thought. So, yes, I'm going to give you the definition that I found on 23&Me and on Wikipedia. So here we go. Let's make sure I can read it. Over the past few decades, researchers compared the DNA of indigenous Americans to populations from around the world, confirming a genetic link between the native peoples of Northeast Asia and the Americas. Over 30,000 years ago, the ancestors of the first Americans began to form a distinct population in Central Asia, and by 25,000 years ago, these ancient humans reached Beringia, a land bridge that once connected Siberia to Alaska, where they remained in isolation for millennia until the massive ice sheets covering North America began to recede. Near the end of the last ice age, 12,000 to 15,000 years ago, upon reaching Alaska, these ancient voyagers became the first humans, not to mention the first members of the hominid family, to set foot in the Western Hemisphere. So that was pretty cool to learn that I'm Native American. That threw me off. So the next thing comes in at some point. Let's just see if that's actually true. I'm going to keep reading. And then it turns out that 18.9% of me is European. 13% of that is Southern European. Whoa, Southern European. And Southern Europe, including the Iberian, Italian, and Balkan peninsulas, as well as the island of Malta, is a region defined in great part by the Mediterranean Sea. The Mediterranean has provided transportation routes, keeping these regions connected culturally and genetically. Pretty cool. There's a few other percentages, and I feel like these are just because it was kind of hard to figure out what I am, so some of us will say like it's broadly something, so again, bear with me. 8.1% Spanish and Portuguese, 4.9% broadly Southern European, 1% broadly Northwestern European, 1.9% broadly European, 3% Northwestern European, 1% Scandinavian, and 1% Ashkenazi Jewish. So, yeah. So that was really interesting to learn. That's the biggest part of my my DNA. I think there was only like 5% that wasn't able to actually be accounted for. So again, it's weird. This is where it gets weird because I didn't really know anything until I looked this up and kind of read it for myself. So it turns out that being mixed with all that, my lineage still ends up in Mexico. And the number one spot that was used, sorry, I talk with my hands all the time, all over the place. But the number one on there was Jalisco, Mexico. And then, so I'll list the top three. It was Jalisco, Michoacan, and Guanajuato. Please tell me I said that right. So again, I'm going to read you another definition because reading it out loud is probably going to help educate me and give you some insight if you want it. So here it is. Deep breath. From the dry riverbeds of Mexico, northern deserts, to the mangrove swamps of southern Panama, the landscape of Mexico and Central America is as diverse as the people who live there. Following waves of immigration from Europe and forced migration from Africa, mixing of these historically separate populations, a process called admixture, resulted in new genetic and cultural identities that define the region today. For Mexican and Central American people, many of whom identify as mestizo or mixed, it can be difficult to tease apart these diverse histories. Sorry, I stopped for a second. Again, I could not read my chicken scratch. So that's interesting, and for most of my life, assuming I'm black and Mexican, as well as everyone else, that's what they were led to believe, I've been called like negrita, moreno all my life. And so to hear a different term, I'm still mixed, and the term is mestizo, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So should I embrace this new term now? But either way, I'm going to give you that definition as well in case you didn't know, because I sure as hell did not know this. So I'm going to, again, read off my paper. So, mestizo is a term used in Spain and Hispanic America that originally referred to a person of combined European and indigenous American descent. Regardless of where the person was born, it was a formal label for official documentation, such as censuses, parish registers, Inquisition trials, and other matters. Individuals were labeled mestizos by priests and royal officials, but the term was also used for self-identification. In the modern era, particularly in Hispanic America, mestizo has become more of a cultural term. To avoid confusion with the original usage of mestizo, mixed people started to be referred to collectively as castas. In some Latin American countries, such as Mexico, the concept of mestizo became central to the formation of a new independent identity that was neither wholly Spanish nor wholly indigenous. And the word mestizo acquired its current meaning by being used by the government to refer to all Mexicans who do not speak indigenous languages, including people of complete European or indigenous descent, as well as Asians and Africans. While the caste system and racial classifications were officially abandoned, once Mexico achieved its independence, the label was used in academic circles, now to refer to all people who were mixed race. It was in those academic circles that the mestizaje, or cosmic race ideology, was created. The ideology asserted that mestizos are the result of mixing of all the races. After the Mexican Revolution, the government, on its attempt to create a unified Mexican identity with no racial distinctions, adopted and actively promoted the mestizaje ideology. So apparently in the U.S., I'd be considered metis, and I'm probably not saying that right, but overall the term is mestizo. So while I know I'm mixed, I didn't realize that I was all of these things wrapped up into one. So I'm not just black and Mexican, I am mestizo. So it's pretty interesting to know that and figure out that little tidbit. Like, it was really cool and really informative, and there was a lot more that I could have written down, could have said, but I don't want to talk too much. Just wanted to really give you guys my results and just let you know to stay safe and keep your head on. Find something productive to do in this time. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you will continue to watch. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm going to be posting stuff in the near future. And yes, if I'm looking a little different, I might have given myself some bangs today. So there's just a lot going on. I, again, just wanted to really give you my results because, it's only been like a month. And I've been kind of holed up in the house and don't want to lose my mind. So I'm glad that I was able to do this. I'm glad you guys even cared enough to watch. So again, subscribe and stay tuned in. I'll be back with something soon.
East side. Do you remember